Save the Last Dance really gaslit us into thinking that there was some real dancing going on, because absolutely not. I don't know what that was. After rewatching that, I'm just like, this is what got her in the Juilliard. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Save the Last Dance. So if you'd like to see more, than just stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. I haven't done one of these videos in a minute, but I just watched Save the Last Dance. And when I tell you, I'm flabbergasted. This movie came out in 2001, so I was like 11, 12 years old, right? This movie is so different than what I remember, because I don't think I watched it much throughout the years. I think I watched it as a kid, but then as I got older, I don't think I revisited the movie until just recently, and I'm just like, what is this? So I decided to make a video, and let's talk about it. Let's go through this together, okay? Let's have a little journey down memory lane, okay? So first we got to start the movie with Sarah, who is played by Julia Stiles, right? Which I love Julia Stiles, by the way. Actually, you know what? I'm lying. I'm confusing her with Kirsten Stewart, and I always confuse her with Kirsten Stewart. I think I've seen a few things with her in it, but I'm thinking about Kirsten Stewart this whole entire time, because I was going to say I loved her in Bring It On. I loved her in that Spider-Man movie. No, that is not her. So Sarah, when we first open up the movie, we find out that Sarah is going to live with her father because her mother passed away in a car accident tragically. She feels responsible for that because even though her mother was busy with work or whatever, she was pressuring her mom to make it to her ballet audition. She just wanted to have her mom there. So she was pressuring her to get there, and her mom was scrambling, racing and driving, trying to get there, and ended up in a wreck and ended up tragically passing away. And so this caused her to give up ballet. And this is kind of like the catalyst of the entire movie. So then we get to the father. I ain't gonna lie, the father feel like a deadbeat. He didn't even really have a proper place for her to stay. So I'm guessing she never came to visit, or why does she not have a room in your house already? Like, I get it, her mom passed away suddenly, but you as a father should have a place for your daughter in your place, I would think. I mean, he is a musician. Maybe he don't have money like that. Maybe he just moved in. The way he had his daughter stand on a pull-out couch, like, you could even give your daughter the room and you sleep in the jacked up room until you can get it fixed. You sleep on the couch until you can get it fixed. Her mama just died. He was at the funeral, but I feel like he didn't even give her no big bear daddy hug when he first saw her. It was just so sterile, and so it was just giving deadbeat to me. Like, I think now he's trying to step it up now after all these years, but she giving him the cold shoulder. He barely giving her a rub on the back after her mom just passed away. She clearly was the primary parent. He didn't even ask her about her ballet. You know that was something she was into? Like, you're not even going to try to see where her head is when it comes to that now? Like, you just going to let her give up her dreams, huh? Even though you pursuing your dreams of being a musician, even though it's not bringing the money in. Why am I going in on a daddy like this? I have to, because I can't stand a deadbeat. I don't know. It just seems like when she came in, he wants to come in and lay down the law, and it's like, it don't work like that. If you haven't been a parent for 16 years, you can't come in on the 16th year like, oh, I'm daddy and I'm putting my foot down. Where you been? Where you been? It don't work like that. So she has this very strained, to say the least, relationship with her father at home, and then she goes to a new school. And her school before that, we saw, was predominantly white, seemed like it was in a more affluent neighborhood. Now she's going to a black school, public school. It's just obviously a huge culture shock for her. And I'm not even gonna lie, I had a similar experience. I went from going to a very small private school where I was clearly the minority. I was usually the only black girl in my class from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. And then once I went to high school, I went to a predominantly black school, and it was a huge school in comparison. And it was a big culture shock. So it's crazy. I could relate to her experience, and maybe even as a child I could relate to that experience. When you're like a fish out of water, you're not used to constantly having to be on your toes, but if people are constantly poking at you and trying to see how, you know, what they can say to you, how far they can go with you, you kind of have to learn how to read and roast. Like, you have to learn how to be quick on your feet and have some smart to say back. And so that's kind of what she was learning when she was in her class for the first time she met Derek. So they're in class, they're having this back and forth about literature, and he's basically letting her know, I'm the smart one in the room, okay? I know more than all of y'all put together, right? She was kind of like, you know, she was kind of like bucking up to him like, I'm smart too. You ain't finna just punk me. And so they had their little back and forth, and she was talking about how much she didn't like him, but it's giving very much a thin line between love and hate. Let's just say that. So then she meets Kerry Washington, who is playing Chanel. Back in the day, I loved her. I still love her in this movie. Like, she was so cool. She was like the epitome of that girl that is, you know, knows everybody, is cool with everybody, everybody loves her, and, you know, she just shows you the ropes of high school. Walking down the hallway and people provoking you for no reason, but there's always a black girl there that's willing to come take you under their wing. Come sit with me at lunch, girl. Oh, I got that class. Oh, we can walk together. Or this is the teacher that's cool. This is the, you know, popular guy. This who goes with who. Just give you the full rundown. I had the exact same experience. I hate to admit, but that is just so true. And the crazy thing is, when I was younger, I always thought she looked older than everybody, like more mature, maybe because she had a baby. But when I looked at her in this movie, she had a whole baby face. Like, she looked like she belonged in high school. I don't know why I thought she looked so much older. And Derek's character is her brother, okay? So Derek, to me, is, I don't know if y'all have seen Barbershop, the character that Sean Patrick Thomas plays in Barbershop. This, I could totally see this being how he originated, like him being this cocky know-it-all guy in high school. I could totally see him growing up to be the guy in Barbershop. Even though they're growing up in the hood and they're not growing up with a lot of money, he aspires to want to be a doctor, and he even got into medical school. And then we meet their friend Snook, and he calls himself the Coochie Crook. And I always thought, jail, take him to jail. The Coochie Crook, does that mean you taking it? Jail. Okay, R. Kelly, the Coochie Crook? Absolutely not. In one of her back and forths with Derek, he tries to tell her, basically, white girl, I know you cannot dance. And she was like, I could dance circles probably around you. And they was like, oh yeah, prove it. And so they decided to go out to the club that night. Okay, this is foreign to me. I've never done anything like this in high school. Maybe this is a common occurrence for some of you, but they were easily able to get a fake ID, even though she looked nothing like the woman on the picture. Another thing that was crazy to me is that Chanel, you're going out to the club in high school, you got a whole baby, and you gonna tell your mama, yeah, I'll be home at 1. The mama's okay with that? Because I'm telling you right now, if I had a baby in high school and I was still living at home, there's no way I would be able to go out till 1 and you still in high school. Going out till 1 a.m. with a baby in high school is crazy. But anyway, Sarah shows up and she looks like she's going to a hold down, and they just like, well, Chanel's like, girl, you gonna give me a migraine. I don't know that the outfit that they transformed her into was much better. I believe she took her cardigan that she was wearing and turned it into a headscarf. You put a headscarf on a white girl. That was better, y'all. That was better. That looks good. And she gave her the little hoops, I guess, that was supposed to enhance the look. But I couldn't get into it. The scarf, I was just like, we pushing it with the scarf. But she wore it, and honestly, it's kind of iconic to the movie if you think about it. Like, when you think about the movie, you think about her in that, you know, transformation. Even though she still had on the hold down skirt and boots, but at least she had on a head wrap and hoop earrings that was supposed to make her look. I still would have been looking and laughing. So then we meet Nikki. Nikki is Derek's ex-girlfriend. And I feel like they're one of those couples that's on and off. She likes to toy with his feelings. And you remember in Mean Girls when they were trying to tell Katie about high school and they were doing a diagram of the cafeteria, and they they had the nerds, they had, the different groups, and then there was the mean black hotties. And that is Nikki to a T. In fact, the girl, what's her name? Bianca Lawson. She embodies that role. Oh my goodness. Now that's somebody I always looked up to as like the gorgeous popular girl. Like, I just want to be like that someday. Not mean, but just how gorgeous and confident she was. And it's crazy. Bianca Lawson low-key looks like that till this day. That's why everybody says she's kind of like a vampire, because she just does not age. Chanel kind of gets into it with her. They go back and forth. I think she called her a Negro or something. And Chanel was ready to take off her earrings and fight over that. I'm like, Negro? Look how far we have come. Look how desensitized we have come, because Negro wouldn't even bat an eyelash these days. You gotta hit way below the belt to even get somebody to flinch. Negro ain't gonna do it. I cannot stand her and the way she played my brother. Okay, so that's where we find out how she did Derek dirty. And Derek definitely gives a black girl did me dirty in high school and now I only date white women. Don't he give that? Isn't that what he gives? I feel like that's his whole persona. Sarah finally has to prove herself on the dance floor, and it's embarrassing, okay? Clearly, she did not know how to do any sort of hip hop dances. Like, if you turned on Mozart, she'll perform Swan Lake with the best of them, okay? When it comes to being in a black club and dancing with a black man, it was just very embarrassing. And, she just could not dance. She didn't have no rhythm. Like, and it was worse than I remember. Like, it was bad back then, but now it's just like, no, you just ain't got no rhythm. And then when I think about it, I'm just like, does Julia Stiles know how to dance? Like, does she know how to do ballet? Because every time I saw somebody performing ballet, it was a stunt double. It was not Julia Stiles. So I'm like, y'all didn't even get a white girl that could dance for the movie? So then we meet Malachi, who is played by Fredo Starr, and I feel like he's most widely known as Q from Moesha. That's where I know him from, and he's playing the exact same role in this movie except worse, okay? Just a bad influence, slapping women. He slapped up a woman so easy, telling her, you just learned a lesson in minding your own business. Didn't nobody even flinch. Didn't nobody do nothing about it. He just slapping people up left and right. Ain't nobody checking him. I guess he's just the biggest and baddest in the club. But we're going to see just how bad he is later on in this movie. This is where we see the dynamic between him and Derek. Derek is constantly taking up for Malachi and defending Malachi. And no, y'all just don't understand. This my man. This my brother. We grew up together. And we just like, you are on another level. You are growing out of this. You want to do better with your life. Malachi does not. Why do you constantly defend him? And then later in the movie, we found out that Malachi actually took charges for Derek. Both of them decided to rob a store or whatever. And Malachi was the one that got away, and he took all the charges for him and allowed for him to have a clean record, and he did not snitch. So now he feels forever indebted to Malachi. And it's like, ain't that just street code? Like, I don't know street code. Let me shut up. Malachi caused a big scene, okay? And it's so bad that the police was going to get called. So they had to all rush out. They're, running their separate ways. Because Chanel lives not too far, she decides to walk home alone. Yeah, let the black girl walk home alone while you walk the lily white woman home. Let your sister get snatched up by somebody while you walk this woman you barely know home. But anyway, he decides that he's going to start teaching her how to have rhythm. And they're going to have hip-hop lessons. And this is where we get the infamous dance scene between Sarah and Derek. Like, this is like one of those scenes from the movie that's definitely in the trailer. And like, it was just, y'all, that part was cringy too, because his dance skills ain't even given. You know how they have this dance challenge on TikTok, and they'll have one person in the front who supposedly can dance, and they'll have people in the back who most likely are non-black, and they'll be like, are they invited to the cookout? And the person in the front will be good at dancing and the person in the back really can't pick up the dance moves. And then sometimes you'll have a black person in the front who's not the best at dancing, and a lot of people in the comments are like, are you invited? Like, how are you qualified to invite anybody and you can't even dance? And that's kind of how I felt rewatching this scene. I'm just like, well, Derek, you barely got the dance moves. Yours are a little stiff. You teaching somebody else, and what she was learning, it definitely wasn't given. And then it's also like, why are we learning choreographed dances just to go to the club? Like, that's my thing. Like, is that how it was back in the day? While he was teaching her dance moves, he found out that she used to do ballet and used to love ballet. And so he took her to the ballet. She didn't even want to go in. She didn't even want to watch it. Like, that's how triggering and traumatic it was for her because of the whole thing with her mother. Afterwards, she had a whole breakdown. And y'all, that breakdown was so cringy. Oh my goodness, she had such a hard time. The acting was terrible, and the acting was terrible on both sides. Like yeah, he looked confused, but then when he was trying to boost her up, he looked mad, like, this is what you need to do. Da-da-da. Like, he was coming off really aggressive. And when she was crying, she could barely get it out. I was not believing the tears. It just was giving, Tubi movie, to be honest. Like, I couldn't believe how bad the acting was right there. He basically told her, you know, you can't avoid your dream. You have to chase your dream. You have to make them happen, and I'm gonna help you. And it's crazy because I feel like he's telling her everything that her dad should have been doing. Her dad should have been taking her to the ballet. The dad should have been telling her to chase her dream, because you know all about it. Should have been encouraging her, telling her of the auditions. Like, he should have been doing all of that. After that, they have that little kiss. They all in love at this point, right? There was a scene where they were on the subway together, and there was an older white woman looking at them, turning up her nose like, a white woman and a black man, and they were all over each other trying to make her mad. And anyway, so they finally go to the club. It was another infamous scene. You could do it, put your back into it, and then that. You could do it, put your back into it. You could do it, put your back into it. It's just like very generic hip hop moves. Those older white women be teaching hip hop classes, and they're just like, yeah, and 1 and 2, and this is how you crumb. Yeah. That's what it's giving. And 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. This was killing it. Everybody like, oh, hey. Why didn't they get actual dancers to play these roles? Like, I know y'all could find a dancer that can act to play both of these roles. I feel like this was the ultimate form of gaslighting. Like, once again, why didn't y'all just get people that could dance? Because then I could actually be like, okay. But now I'm just like, girl, I can do better than that. And I don't have a dancing bone in my body. And then when they did like various like moves, like at one point he did the splits, and at one point she did like the ballet move. It was so clearly a double. Like, their dance doubles didn't even look anything like them. So obvious. And maybe through like 2024 eyes, I feel like we know so much about the behind the scenes of how movies and stuff goes down these days. Maybe back then it was a little bit more believable, but now I'm just looking at that and I'm like, it's so clear that is not Julia Stiles. And it's crazy because even in today's climate, she could get on TikTok, do those same exact moves, and go viral. We've seen it time and time again. And trust, she would have not given any credit to Derek, okay? Her and Derek, you know, they king queen of the dance floor. Everybody's like, yeah, you know, going off. This was like the climactic moment for her, because finally, you know, she came in and killed it with her man or whatnot. And then here comes Nikki. She came in, showed up and showed out and showed her exactly how it's done, okay? I mean, she was grinding all up on him in front of her. And all Sarah could do was walk off molded. Like, she walks off. And meanwhile, Derek didn't even look up to see where Sarah was. He was all up in there. I would have been mad too. Like, how you dancing with your ex? Well, I storm off mad. You don't even notice I stormed off because you so into that dance. Nikki knew exactly what she was doing. When she storms off and she's watching them in the distance, here comes Malachi, like the devil on her shoulder, telling her, you will never look good with him. That she was milk and he's oil and they'll never work because they do not mix. And I'm like, and it's crazy. The only reason why he's saying that is because she caught him slapping up a woman in the bathroom. And so he's still mad and upset because she came in and stopped him from being abusive. So now he got to come in and break her up from his friend. But Derek realizes the error of his ways. Okay, he made sure to get that full dance though. But after he got done dancing with Nikki, he apologized. I'm sorry. And they go back to her place. They leave together. It's alluded to that they get it on. I'm like, girl, like after that, like I could see after the ballet. But after he does you dirty and all he got to do is say, I'm sorry, that's when you give it up. You just trying to make sure you have it locked down or something. Because I'm just like, what? That was an awkward place to put that. I love that it's left to the imagination as to what really happens. I really want Euphoria and shows like it, especially when you're dealing with high school students. Take notes, because we don't have to see all the graphic nature of a scene like that. You can allude to it. So later on, Nikki and Sarah, they have a PE class together. And Nikki has been giving her the side eye ever since she first started talking to Derek. She's been steaming and fuming, and she really thought that dancing with him the night before was going to get him back, but he turned her down and left with Sarah. They were playing basketball, and the first chance she got, any sort of like light tap or bump she got from Sarah, she decided to turn it into, it's about to be a what? A girl fight. That fight was brewing, okay? Sarah was holding her own. She wasn't just getting beat up either. When they finally sat down and had, I guess what you can call a conversation about it, she was like, I'm just so tired of you white girls coming in here and taking our men. The whole world ain't enough. You got to come in and take ours too. And you know what? Under normal circumstances, I can get behind that. You know what I'm saying? I see where you're coming from with it. But in this particular situation, Nikki, you're just a jerk. You did the man dirty, and even though we don't know what Derek did, Derek might have been the one in the wrong for all we know, okay? Because this is Sarah's story, so she always gonna be the villain in Sarah's story. Black men, they don't limit their options when it comes to other races. I think black women should stop limiting theirs and do the same. Like I said, her and Nikki got into it, and she had a whole like you could see the evidence of this fight. And it's crazy because the only time you really saw her dad there for her up until this point was after the fight. Then that's when he wanted to go ahead and finish her room. So it takes a black eye for her to get any sort of love in this situation. Okay, I see it. So then it's another night at the club, and Malachi is still mad that Derek is with Sarah, and he decided to get all up in her face. I think she did say something smart to him first, but he you know, he don't mind putting his hands on women. He got all up in her face and called her trailer trash, and nobody could talk any sense into Derek up until this point. I know that's your friend, but you need to get away from him. He's a bad influence. He wasn't trying to hear it. But do not talk to his white woman any kind of way. Do not call his white woman trailer trash, okay? Because he hauled off and knocked the fire out of Malachi. And what's crazy is Malachi was supposed to be this big bad character that everybody was so afraid of and scared that, you know, he was going to do something to them. He basically got up and whimpered and walked away like a big dog that smashed a little puppy. I thought he was supposed to be hard. You let your friend knock you out. He didn't even try to retaliate. It was literally like the Will Smith slap moment. Like he was Chris Rock, like, and literally walked away. And then even later on down the line, he forgave him easily. You know, he wasn't wrong, but he's not the type to take accountability. So I don't know, maybe he needed somebody to knock sense into him. I don't know, but it didn't work. He made him promise to participate in a drive-by because earlier in the movie, you know, he involved in all that hood gang life stuff. They were almost shot down in a drive-by while outside playing basketball, and he made him promise, well, you're gonna come ride out with me. after all this. For the time being, he agrees, but stick a pin in that. So then we have Chanel. So Chanel, like I mentioned earlier, she's a single mom, and her baby daddy is a deadbeat. We saw him whisper sweet nothings in her ear earlier in the movie, but he does not take care of his child. And so I'm just like, why are you ever giving him the time of day? I guess she's in high school, she's young, but why are you ever giving this man the time of day? He won't even see his child. So he comes over to pick up the child, not even so he could spend time with the child and, you know, just have the child for the weekend. I'm taking him to my mama's house. She ends up telling him not to take the child because he was handling the child all rough and he was mad. And she was like, no, you are not taking him like that. Not with that attitude. You're not taking my son. And he just, you know, easily left because he didn't want to take the child in the first place. And so Chanel had a bad attitude from that point on. So it turns out her baby is sick and they take the baby to the clinic and Sarah goes with her. And she ends up, you know, taking out all that frustration that she had towards her baby daddy and telling her she understood where Nikki was coming from, saying you're coming in and taking all the good black men we got in the hood. She lashed out at her, but I just kind of consider that reparations. No, like, I guess she was wrong for it, but it's just like, I more so could see where she was coming from because of the situation that she's in. And then it's just the fact that this movie is like pushing like all these problems that interracial couples have, and I get it. You know, I know they have some stumbling blocks and they, you know, face a lot of vitriol from people and just unnecessary, you know, nastiness and stuff. But I just hate how Sarah came into this situation of, you know, black people and just became the victim to everybody in it. Like, I just hate how they portrayed that. Like, they set it up to where the black people were most of the time in the wrong, and either Sarah or Derek were always right for the most part. And she was, you know, she was taking it on the chin. She wasn't necessarily playing the victim, but it just the way this script was written was a little, it favored that a little bit too much. I didn't like it. After having that conversation with Chanel, it made her push Derek away, and once again kind of made Chanel the villain in that story. Obviously Derek was just angry because this white woman of his dreams just was pushing him away. He just couldn't take it and just like, leave me alone, don't talk to me. And he storms out. So later on, Chanel sees the error of her ways and tells her brother, look, I'm sorry, I'm the one that said it to Sarah to make her push you away. I'm so sorry, go get your girl. While we at it, you need to stop being a follower, and you better not ride out with Malachi tonight because you will end up in jail, and you're supposed to be a doctor and you're supposed to get us up out the hood, okay? So you better go tell him you're not going with him right now. So then he runs to tell Malachi he doesn't want to do it. Basically, he was trying to talk Malachi out of it. But you already know Malachi is about that life. I feel like Malachi is representative of the guys in the hood. They ain't going to be happy until they end up dead. They're not the type to want to take their own lives necessarily firsthand, but they're doing everything they can to get somebody else to do it for them. I don't know. That's the way I see some people that do that. Like, do you have a death wish? Do you not want to be on this earth anymore? Because everything you're doing is it's making it seem like you don't value your life. They do the drive-by, but then the people shoot back at them and somehow the car catches on fire. I guess in like a freak accident, child, that makes sense. But obviously he ends up getting arrested and going to jail. So at least you ain't got to deal with him no more. You don't have to worry about running with Malachi no more because he in jail. Because him and Sarah fell out, he wasn't going to go to the audition at first, but he decided to rush there. That's where we get the infamous, baby, a dream is not as hard as it may seem. Gotta work, get the dream. The movie itself is not as good as I remember, but the soundtrack is fire. Y'all can't tell me no different because that was my song. Baby, a dream is not as hard as it may seem. And once again, all of those moves, they weren't even mid. Her dance moves weren't even mid. They were terrible. Look at her dance without the music. Are those dance moves? Now, when she first started her audition, she didn't have her confidence. Her dad did show up. He was actually being a good father that day. And, you know, she's messed up. She couldn't get it right. Derek walks in and he you know, encourages her, boosts her head up. And the guy was like, look, we ain't got time for the sad sob stories, and we ain't got time for the motivational speeches. Are you ready or not? He was like, yes, sir, she's ready. So, you know, she does her dance. Baby, a dream is not as hard as it may seem. You gotta work to get the dream. You will see, hit or miss. You have to. Baby, when I was 10, I thought she was killing it. I was like, I know she got into Juilliard. She couldn't even get on. So you think you could dance with those dance moves? Like, all the dance moves were so lazy. Anything that had any sort of technique or was impressive was a body double. And you could tell, that wasn't Julia doing it. Save the Last Dance really gaslit us into thinking that there was some real dancing going on, because absolutely not. I don't know what that was. I can't drill it in anymore than I already have, that the dancing sucked. Like, everything she did, I could do that. Like, if I could do it, it sucks. It's all or nothing. Give your everything. Y'all, that's all it was. That's all it was. Me dancing in the mirror, she gave that same exact energy as me dancing in the mirror. Like, it's hit or miss. But back in the day, I thought she was Sierra. You couldn't tell me no different. I thought she was Britney. I thought she was J-Lo. I thought, well, she might have been J-Lo, child. After rewatching that, I'm just like, this is what got her into Juilliard, one of the highest regarded ballet schools in the nation. That's what got her in. Anyway, y'all, that's the end of the movie. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this video. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Did I send you on a trip down memory lane? Y'all let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.